I'm Jessie. I'm sitting in my flat in London, looking out at the city lights reflecting on the river. The silence is heavy, but it's a different kind of silence now. It's the silence of resolution, of finally standing up for myself. I'm reminded of that fateful day at my sister Lily's wedding, a day that changed everything. I had just landed after an 18-hour flight from London to New York. I was excited, despite the long journey. I had received an invitation to Lily's wedding, a beautiful, expensive-looking thing, tucked inside a thick, cream-colored envelope. Along with it was a handwritten note from Lily saying it wouldn't be complete without me. I couldn't resist the hope that maybe, just maybe, things had changed in our family. My family was far from perfect. My father, Henry, was a proud but struggling businessman. He owned a small antique shop in the heart of the city. He always talked big, but in reality, the shop was barely making ends meet. My mother, Sophia, was a quiet woman who always tried to keep the peace, often at my expense. And Lily, my younger sister by 4 years, was the apple of my parents' eyes. She was charming, and she knew it. I left home at 19 to attend NYU on a partial scholarship, working part-time to make up the rest. No one drove me to campus or helped me move in. It was just me, facing the world on my own. After graduation, I landed a job in compliance in London. I bought a small flat, and every square foot was paid for with my hard-earned money. When I arrived at the wedding venue, a grand old mansion on the outskirts of the city, it was like stepping into a fairy tale. The gravel path was lined with white lanterns, and the sound of a string quartet drifted through the open doors. But as I approached, my father stepped in front of me. "Leave. Only family is allowed here," he said. I was stunned. I held up the invitation, the very one with my name on it. "Dad, I have the invitation right here," I said. He just shook his head and said it was a mistake. I looked past him through the glass doors and saw Lily in her white wedding dress, laughing with her bridesmaids. My mother stood behind my father, silent. I didn't beg or cry in front of him. I just turned around and walked back to my rental car. It was only when I was alone in the car, with the doors locked and the engine running, that the tears came. I cried not for the wedding, but for the hope I had foolishly let myself hold on to. Back at the hotel, I called my best friend from college, Mia. She was a paralegal in New York. When I told her what had happened, she said something didn't add up. "People don't do this without a reason," she said. She urged me to stay and see what happened. 3 days later, my mother called. "We need to discuss the bill," she said. "What bill?" I asked. She told me it was for the wedding venue, a whopping $35,000 bill with my name on it. I was shocked. I hadn't signed anything, and I hadn't even been allowed into the wedding. I knew I had to take action. I called the wedding venue and spoke to the event coordinator, a woman named Grace. I told her that I didn't sign the guarantor agreement. She was professional but cautious. She told me to submit a written request for a copy of the contract, along with a copy of my passport for verification. In the days that followed, I started getting calls and messages from my extended family. Aunt Rose called and said my mother was beside herself, that I had promised to cover the venue and now I was backing out. Uncle Tom sent an email saying that family was about love, not contracts. Cousin Emily texted me to just pay the bill, that it would be easier for everyone. But then, Cousin Jake, who was always the quiet observer in the family, texted me. "Something feels off. Mom keeps saying you promised, but I don't think that's the whole story," he said. I was grateful for his support. Lily called me too. "You need to just pay the bill. You make good money," she said. I was furious. "You kicked me out of your wedding, and now you want me to pay for it? I said. She tried to brush it off, saying it was my father's decision. When I asked her if she knew my father had put my name on the contract, she went silent for a long time. Then she said it didn't matter, that I had left the family when I moved to London. My father called again, threatening me. He said he talked to a friend who was in real estate law, and the guarantor contract was legally binding. I asked him what would happen if the signature was forged. He went silent, and that's when I knew. Finally, the contract arrived in my inbox. I sat down at the hotel desk and opened it. There, at the bottom of the guarantor agreement, was my name, but the signature was not mine. The pen pressure was wrong, the slant was off. I called Mia right away. "It's a forgery," I said. She told me that under New York law, a forged guarantor agreement was void. We decided to write a formal letter to the venue's legal department, stating that I didn't sign the contract and requesting a verification process. We included a copy of my passport with my real signature for comparison. Meanwhile, my mother was organizing a family brunch to help me see reason. I knew it was a setup, but I decided to go. I gathered all the evidence, the contract copy, the letter I sent to the venue, and my passport. On the day of the brunch, I dressed in a professional suit. I drove to my aunt's house, where the brunch was being held. As I walked into the dining room, I could feel the tension in the air. My father sat at the head of the table, looking stern. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Lily sat next to her husband, looking down. My father stood up and started speaking. "We're here because Jessie made a commitment to help with Lily's wedding, and now she's refusing to honor it," he said. The room nodded in agreement. My mother chimed in, saying they didn't want this to become public, but I had left them no choice. Lily then spoke, her voice small. "I just wanted my sister at my wedding. I invited her, and now she's making it all about money," she said. I sat there, listening to their rehearsed lines. Then, when they were done, I stood up. "I've been listening," I said. "Now it's my turn." I opened the manila folder and placed the guarantor agreement on the table. "This is the contract everyone's been talking about. But this signature is not mine," I said. I placed my passport beside it, showing my real signature. Aunt Rose reached for the contract and compared it to the passport. Her eyes widened. "These signatures aren't the same," she said. I then placed the venue's letter on the table, which stated that they were investigating the forgery. My father's face turned pale. "That's ridiculous. You signed it electronically," he said. I kept my voice calm. The event coordinator confirmed that an older gentleman submitted the form in person and signed it at the front desk, I said. The room went quiet. Uncle Tom stood up. "Henry, is this true? You signed her name?" he asked. My father's voice cracked. "It was for Lily. Our credit was bad, and the venue required a guarantor," he said. My mother tried to defend him. "We were desperate," she said. But Lily's husband, Mark, spoke up. "You lied to me about the money. You said your parents were covering the venue," he said to Lily. Lily tried to hold his hand, but he pulled away. "You knew your father forged your sister's name on a contract, and you said nothing," he said. The room was in chaos. I raised my hand. "I'm not pressing charges," I said. "But I want everyone to understand 3 things. First, I never signed that contract. I have no legal or moral obligation to pay a single dollar. Second, I flew 18 hours to be at Lily's wedding, and I was turned away by the person who forged my name. Third, I don't hate anyone in this room, but but I will not carry debts that were never mine, and I will not apologize for refusing. I gathered my documents and walked out of the house. As I got in my car, I heard Mark's voice through the open window. "You lied to me." "What else have you lied about?" he was saying to Lily. A few days later, I received an email from the venue's legal department. The guarantor agreement was voided, and the liability reverted to my parents. I called Mia and told her the news. "You owe nothing," she said. In the months that followed, my family's situation changed. My father sold some of the inventory from the antique shop to pay off part of the debt. My mother got a part-time job at a local bookstore. Lily and Mark were in couples counseling. I also started to change. I realized that saying no to what hurt me was a form of self-love. I started saying yes to things I used to decline, like going out with colleagues and taking weekend trips. I learned that family is not just about blood, it's about the people who support and respect you. As I sit here now, looking at the city lights, I know that I've come a long way. I've learned to stand up for myself, and I'll never let anyone sign my name without my permission again.